Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Claw and the King podcast. I'm joined by my co-host, Dopey over here, better known as Oscar. So, how are you today? Have you been catching up on a lot of sports? Is that sort of on your radar at this current moment?
Yeah, well, sports is always on my radar, mate. You should know that. But yeah, a lot of free time, so been checking out a lot of
Unemployed
stuff.
geezer.
Unemployed, essentially. So life's good. Sports is the only thing getting me through it.
Lakers hire the man. Hire him.
I'd work for the Lakers.
What would you do for the Lakers? What do you reckon?
I'd want to be like LeBron's personal assistant.
Really?
Yeah. So I could just like be his bitch, basically.
Okay. But what's like the opportunities for advancement in that role?
Well, I assume it would pay quite well, so I wouldn't need to advance.
Okay, fair play.
Like, I mean, LeBron, he could probably throw me a mil.
A mil?
Yeah, well, I
Why would he
assume so.
throw you a mil?
Because I'm his personal assistant, and he'd be nice to me for that.
But it's not like he's like got. He's got a bit of money. So
He's got a bill, so he can give me a mil.
Well, I mean, why doesn't he give fucking his cousin a mil?
I'm sure he does.
He probably does. Anyway, talking about basketball, the new NBA season kicked off. A lot of news surrounding it. In terms of maybe trades or the new in-season tournament that's happening as we speak. What's your sort of view on the start to the NBA season?
It's been good, very, very exciting, I think. Obviously, there's a few teams that have been surprisingly good, a few that have been surprisingly bad, but you always sort of get that at the start of the season. It usually levels out towards the end as to what you were thinking. I guess the main story so far has been James Harden, and now he's obviously landed at the Clippers. The trade has gone through. The trade, I think, was pretty good from the Clippers' perspective. If James Harden actually plays good basketball. I mean, they somehow got to keep Terrence Mann and Norman Powell, and they just, I don't know, like Marcus Morris is washed, Batum's washed, Covington's washed. Well,
Covington, I wouldn't say he was the best player in the deal for me.
Well, yeah,
he played well for us, but yeah, I agree. I heard Perk or someone on ESPN it might have been Rich. I don't know who. Some ESPN just don't watch basketball, but they were saying, they lost all these great defenders. Marcus Morris, great defender. But have you watched the guy recently? Was the worst player that we had last year. It was horrendous. Couldn't shoot, couldn't defend, and the way he scored was just back to the basket ISO ball, which majority of the time he missed. So glad to get him gone. Batum was a solid role player for many years, but look, he was on the wrong side of his career. Let's be real. And yeah, I think the most concerning part of it was giving up that first round pick unprotected. You never like to give up first round picks, especially when you're in the Clippers' position of one having older injury prone stars, but also just anyways you don't like to give up future picks because you never know what the future will hold in terms of that. It's a tricky one. It's weird how like the two players I've always detested in terms of play styles for me watching the NBA being Russell Westbrook and James Harden, and they're both on the Clippers now, which is a bit bizarre. But look, Russ has maybe proved me wrong in terms of his ability on the Clippers. He's been unreal. In terms of the energy, I think I sort of underestimated maybe his impact just from an energy standpoint that we needed. People don't really take it.
It's when his shots start missing that you're like, fuck this guy. Because he's shooting very well to start the season.
Well, he shot very well last year with us. I think it's more, you didn't need that kind of energy on the Lakers. But I think the Clippers, we needed a bit of sort of that energy boost. And that's something that doesn't take, that the stats guys or the nerds don't really take into account when they his fucking XYG is such and such. Well, you don't take into account the feel of a basketball team and the actual momentum that is involved in a basketball game that is very different to most sports. And I think he provides so much positive momentum for the Clippers in terms of his energy, not only defensively but offensively. He's always chasing after loose rebounds, which we didn't have a guy like that. So I think he has provided some value. Now, James Harden, I don't know where he'll sort of fit. I think he will help PG and Kawhi, even though PG started unbelievably. I think having them play off ball a bit more, I think will help us. Just in terms of the turnovers, in my opinion.
But I mean, it's a tough fit for Harden and Westbrook. I mean, this is the third time they've been teammates now. And they both need the ball to be good. I mean, Russ, although he started the season shooting well, you don't want him to be a spot-up shooter. And Harden, the same thing. I mean, he has zero off-ball movement. He just stands there like looking like a lost puppy if he doesn't have the ball in his hands. So
yeah,
it's for me, it's a tough fit to see actually working unless they stagnate the minutes a bit like they're doing with CP and Golden State. But and obviously both their egos are way too big to be able to do that.
Well, I think something people aren't considering. Well, everyone's sort of assuming that PG and Kawhi stay healthy throughout the whole year. They never, I mean, knock on wood, they don't this year, but like they never stay healthy. That is one thing that they do not do. And when they always go down, we're left with role players to step up and try and take star player sort of minutes and responsibilities. But when you have a guy like James Harden now, who can sort of take that responsibility if he needs to, if one of those guys gets hurt, I think that helps us. And, maybe in a playoff series when Kawhi's out, the Clippers are done, you might say, well, they're not favourites anymore, but they can maybe ruffle a few feathers in the postseason because they've still got James Harden, they've still got, Russ, they've still got, whoever's available between PG and Kawhi. So I think it adds to the talent and the depth of high-level talent that maybe we didn't have before.
It definitely adds to the depth, but I think it's almost like, are we better if one person gets injured because then the three guys will fit better? It'll be interesting to see how it works as a four. As I said, I do have my reservations. I mean, Harden's been on how many super teams at this point? It's never worked. Russ, the same thing.
Well, worked. The Brooklyn thing, talk about worked. I mean, they played like 15 games together, and they played unreal in those games. I think it was so much less about the actual play more than just the whole behind the scenes sort of thing that happened in Brooklyn. I don't think that was necessarily because their styles didn't match and James Harden couldn't play with stars. And the last time James Harden played with the super team, he was 20 years old and he was coming off the bench. So I think there is a bit of an over exaggeration on James Harden and his inability to play with super teams. I think last year in Philly when they had a really good team, he was unreal. I mean, people were talking about
he had 3 great games in the playoffs, and the rest he was
the
bad.
Playoffs. But I mean, in terms of the regular season, which the Clippers need regular season. I mean, how many times has the Clippers, like I said before, had one guy go injured for half the season, 75% of the season, and they end up in the play-in or they end up in the 7th, 6th sort of range. I think regular season impact James Harden last year for that Philly team was immense. I think he was unbelievable in terms of not only the pick and roll game with Embiid, but just his ability to sort of create that extra level of offense that maybe when everyone else gets stagnant, he provides that individual sort of brilliance that he can do with the ball. So, look, like I said earlier, I've never liked Harden's play style, especially when before the rules changed in terms of hooking players, and I thought he was always a grubby sort of offensive player, but he has had a positive impact with the Sixers, so we'll see if it sort of carries over.
Yeah, I mean, from the Sixers' perspective, I would make a prediction now that I think Joel Embiid requests a trade after the season.
Requests a trade
after this season. I think so.
I think he knows that's such a pointless endeavor because they're never going to trade him.
Well, if he requests a trade,
he's completely untradeable. He's completely untradeable. I mean, it's like saying what LeBron James put a trade request in. LeBron in his prime, or KD prime OKC days put a trade request in.
What do you mean?
They're never going to do
Embiid, it's a similar thing to Dame. I mean, you can argue
it's
Embiid's
not similar.
better,
Embiid's way younger.
Embiid is pushing. He's 30 next year,
but he's still 29.
I don't see Embiid extending his prime into his mid-30s. I reckon he's got 2 or 3 good years left.
No,
he barely played until he was 25.
Look, I just think he's completely untradeable. Completely untradeable.
Well, maybe, but I think there's no way he's going to be happy there. I mean, they can't win with this roster, even though Maxi's taken a big jump.
Yeah, I love that narrative. Philly won the trade. Really? Did they? I don't... none of those players that they got back in return are going to make any sort of impact. And I get maybe they retool the picks that they got and those expiring contracts for another good player. But like, that's not happened yet. This trade, as it stands, Philly are a worse team. And you're saying, well, Maxey gets an elevated role. He's shooting 57% from three. That's not going to continue. So you're going to have to live with the fact, if you're happy living with the fact that Maxey is your second best player on a contending team, then sure, go ahead. But
yeah,
that's just never going to win an NBA championship, especially when so many other teams got better over the offseason. So I don't think the trade for Philly was great in terms of, like, if you're going to get role players, then in that James Harden trade, and that's realistically what you would have been able to get, you've got to be able to get some that can make an impact for you positively. Marcus Morris, Batum, Covington, I mean, are they going to play?
They'll probably play a bit, but they're not going to do anything. I mean, yeah, it's just struggle street. I mean, people are saying, Tobias Harris is actually good. We just haven't seen it for 4 years, but he's pretty good.
Does Tobias Harris go down as the most bang average player in NBA history?
He could be up there, but
like I've never seen a guy average 19 points consistently throughout his entire career. Never been worse or better than solid.
Yeah, he's just a guy that's like a fourth or fifth option, really. But I mean, on the Clippers, he was a one option for a year or two there, I think. But
he was very good with the Clippers.
Yeah, he's just one of those players that I can't see ever winning a championship if he's a predominant player on your roster. I don't know why, but
I do. Things. I think if he's your third option,
I mean third maybe. No, actually, fuck no. Philly can't win.
Well, you think about like those Raptors teams, the Kawhi. If you've got an elite level,
yeah, but
Joel Embiid hasn't proved. That's the thing. Joel Embiid, in the playoffs has not proved to be elite of the elite. And Kawhi Leonard, when he won that championship with the Raptors, was the best player on the planet during that run. And I think you've got to have Joel Embiid be an elite one for Tobias Harris to be able to be that three right now. So, I don't love the trade for Philly, but they made a trade. They had to get rid of Harden at the end of the day.
I guess moving on from the trade, the big story, the other big story is obviously Wembanyama. His start to the season, he was looking a little bit average until yesterday, basically, when he dropped 40. And now everyone's obviously saying he's the GOAT. Now, I'd seen enough in preseason to safely say that he's going to be an all-time great as long as injuries don't fuck him up. But I do think he was kind of overhyped coming into the season. It will take him a bit of time to get used to the NBA, and he is very skinny still. So,
well, the Suns' defense sucks, so it's not like he's playing an elite defense. But then again, you look at his size, look at his skill set. What defense is going to be able to sort of stop him? But I mean, look, we said the same thing about Giannis, but again, Wemby has a way better bag in terms of a shooting range than Giannis has ever had. So, look, you watched the Suns game, 38 points, just absolutely dominated. Some of the stuff that he can do is, like I said, Giannis-like, but with the ability to shoot as well, which is like everyone was saying, well, what if Giannis got a three-point shot? He'd be the most unstoppable player in NBA history. We might just see it, especially if he puts on some muscle. So,
yeah, I mean,
all I keep thinking of is, why is he with the Spurs? Like, what a waste.
Yeah, well, the fact that the Spurs are actually winning any sort of games, I mean, they probably have the worst roster I've ever seen, apart from Wembanyama.
It's just like, why? Why is the Spurs like the most boring? Like, even your kits in your uniforms are so boring. Like, it's just black and white. It's just San Antonio. It's just, why is he there? Like, I don't know. I get that it's, that you can't have bias towards different NBA franchises in terms of getting elite players to somewhere. But imagine if he was in New York. Could you imagine if he was in like New York, or if he was in, I don't know, LA or Boston or Miami? I know Boston and Miami weren't exactly, but even like have him in like Detroit is like
really?
is cooler than having him. San Antonio is like the worst place. I'd rather have him in Charlotte with LaMelo. You'd rather have him just with anyone. Like, the Spurs roster is... Like, if you've seen the contracts these guys are on, it's unreal. Like, they're on hundreds of millions of... Like, friggin... Vassell.
Johnson.
Keldon Johnson. Like, you go to, like, Brazil and you ask, who's Keldon Johnson? I guarantee you will not find one person that knows his name.
I know, but I think, like, from the first week, I think every Spurs game has been on ESPN. And it's starting to piss me off a little bit. I mean, I understand Victor Wembanyama is like a massive draw.
No one else is interested.
But like, I've seen him play now. I'm chill with just catching up on the highlights later. I'd rather watch another team play.
I don't know. Look, San Antonio Spurs fans out there are fucking livid with what I'm saying, but I just can't stand how he's with the Spurs. It just seems like such a waste for me. And with how the fucking contracts are so skewed now, he's going to be a Spur for fucking at least 11 years. Like, I'm going to be fucking in my mid-30s by the time I see him maybe move. So, I mean...
Well, yeah, Spurs usually have... Their generational talents usually stay forever.
Yeah.
So...
Yay, fucking great. The boring-ass Spurs get to fucking...
Yeah, and I mean, the other side of that game, the Suns, we kind of said it on the last episode, they are fucked. I mean... They've got no chance. I mean, they've got to make a move before the deadline for sure. Their depth is absolutely horrific. There's just nothing they can. There's no way they can win with this roster.
Yeah, I mean, watching them, it's just an embarrassment. The depth is ridiculously bad. I said on the previous podcast that they were too small. I thought that was maybe the case. Look, they maybe had enough talent in terms of depth, but the depth of that talent was way too short. But watching them now, I mean, it's just horrendous. I mean, Devin Booker's playing out of his mind. Kevin Durant's playing okay, apart from that fucking shocker of it. I don't know what the fuck he was doing on that late games situation against the Spurs. But, yeah, it's just... Watching them is just embarrassing at the moment.
Yeah. You're right there.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know.
Also, I forgot to say, shout out to Chris Broussard. I don't know if you saw it, for calling... James Harden a retard on national television. I mean, that was...
No, you shouldn't say it. Now we're going to get
I've repeated him. I can say that.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Broussard.
That was fucking hilarious.
It's like when you're with, like, your mates and, like, that's such a, like, such and such thing to do. Like, that's such an idiot. Oh. Like, the fact that he did it. And the Nick Watt, I think it's wild.
Yeah.
The guy that was, like, the host
face.
is like... Okay.
But you could tell he just wasn't thinking. He was like, do you think he's a
yeah, you know, like, is he fired? Is he...
I don't think... I mean, he apologized straight away. He obviously realized that he fucked up and he went,
he's like,
I've just lost a family member who was... I can't remember what the other word he said was, but like something about a different word for the R word.
Special needs?
He didn't say special needs, but he basically said, I have someone in my family with special needs that just died, so I apologize to anyone.
So you call him... What are you trying to say? You call him that? Like,
yeah.
Oh, it's fucking...
Oh, my God. It
died.
did make me laugh, though, when I saw it. So fucking... Just, like, so unexpected to see someone say that on national television.
It's like, yeah, I had this... died, the family was...
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I feel like he should have done, like, a Shannon when he kept on saying Skip instead of Steve's like, God damn it! You should have done one of them.
Break the table.
Yeah. Just got real emotional about it. It should have been like switched. It should have been like Shannon's reaction to saying Skip should have been what Chris Broussard said after the... You feel like, yeah, I've got someone in the family called Skip, you know, it's just tough. Like, that's what you say after saying someone's name wrong. After calling someone an R word, you're usually like, oh, damn it. Far out. Why'd I have to say that on national television? But yeah. Good on Chris Broussard. Don't know why he did that. I feel like a lot of people maybe have sympathy for him because they'd be, you know, everyone feels like they could say like a bad word on live television. Especially when you talk about sports, it's so passionate and...
Yeah, when you get lost in the heat of it, it's very hard to control.
Yeah, so look, Chris Broussard, should he lose his job? You know, it's not up to us.
No, I mean, it made me laugh.
Yeah, it was entertainment.
I can't lose a job for that.
But yeah, interesting. Chris Broussard, good on him. Not good on him, but
not
anyway.
Anyway,
moving on to, is there another sport you'd like to bring up immediately, or?
I mean, is there any other NBA stuff?
Oh, look, the in-season tournament, I'm not like really fussed about it. Who cares? It's just, it's at the worst timing possible. I don't know why it's now. It's so ridiculous. It should be, at like the middle of the season. Like, if you're going to style it like European sort of, if you're going to style it like European, knockout matches, just do a knockout tournament, 1-on-1, in the middle of the season around the All-Star break. No one cares about basketball around that time anyway, just to sort of ramp things up. And then, I just don't get how it's really a thing right now, especially because all the new hype is about, the regular season right now. I mean, this is the only time the regular season is interesting, really. It's like the start of it and the end of it, regarding if certain teams make playoffs or play it or whatever. But start of the NBA season is all about hype. Everyone's interested in it. There's new players. There's the rookies that are playing. New players are on different teams. It's the interesting part. So I don't know why you're sort of muddling it up with this stupid in-season tournament. I don't get it, but yeah.
Well, money probably. But, yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. Obviously, it has to play out. It could be exciting. You never know. But, yeah, we'll see how it goes. But, yeah, I don't think anyone's really going to be fucking riding their team really hard to win it unless they're Detroit or Orlando or San Antonio or Portland. But moving on, we can go football. Obviously, this is probably a crisis meeting for Manchester United fans. Obviously not a great past couple games for them. Also, we can talk about Ballon d'Or. Messi winning it, which I think is disgraceful. But
Messi. I had this chat with someone at work. They think that he should have won it. I have no idea why he should have won it.
Well, yeah, he played well for like 1 month of the year.
Well, look, he had a solid season in the shittest league that we know that's regarded as a top league, which is Liga.
But he wasn't great.
And he wasn't fantastic, really. Haaland won a treble, scored over 50 goals in that treble-winning season, on multiple fronts, in multiple competitions. There's just there's no doubt for me that Haaland should have won it. The fact that Messi won it's a bit of a disgrace, but it's just a popularity contest. And I didn't like how it was leaked beforehand through Twitter. If you're on Twitter, you'll see that Fabrizio Romano knew about it a week before. So everyone knew that Messi won it before he actually won it. I don't really like that. Similar to, the NBA draft when, Shams or Woj leaks the pick before the pick's made. Like, come on, mate. Can't I just watch the NBA draft and look at Twitter at the same time, without having to see the pick that's about to happen? So, yeah, it's a bit annoying, but it is what it is.
Yeah. But yeah, Manchester United, they got knocked out by Newcastle.
Yeah, 3-0.
Yeah.
3-0. Yeah, we're shit. We're absolutely woeful. Ten Hag out is apparently a thing now. I don't get it, personally, because who else would we bring in? Even if you're going to sack him, it's not his fault at all. If 6 or 7 managers fail in a row, most of them regarded as world-class managers, there's something wrong with the institution itself. It's not the manager's fault. And yeah, it's just, look, we lost 3-0. It was embarrassing. And then we got spunked as well by Man City. It's just, we're not playing good football at the moment, to be fair. The main players are shocking at the moment. The Rashfords of the world are playing absolutely abysmal. The defence is abysmal. Look, and I would say this about Ten Hag. He's made some bad decisions. He's made wrong decisions in terms of picking players, in terms of transfers. He's made the wrong decisions a lot of times. But, I mean, is it, again, how many wrong transfer decisions has the club made?
Well, it's almost a curse at this point.
Yeah, it's almost like it's out of his control. Maybe they're a great player before they signed him, but he turned out to be bad. I mean, Sancho, regarded as the most highly talented, young talent in the world, and before he comes to Manchester United, and then all of a sudden he can't play. Anthony, one of the starts in the Brazilian national team at 20, while playing for Ajax, all of a sudden is like the worst player you've ever seen.
It's been like 10 years it's essentially been happening that players are coming and turning to shit. But yeah, I mean, Ten Hag, he's definitely made some questionable decisions. I remember I saw an interview, someone asked him, is it Johnny Evans that's playing centre-back?
Yeah.
That he was like, was there a reason you played Johnny Evans instead of Varane? And he was like, yeah, it was tactics.
Then it's like, that's so stupid.
But what sort of tactics is Johnny Evans over Varane?
It's so stupid. I just don't get it. It's like he's trying to send a message to some players. I don't know what it is at all. When he took Casemiro off at halftime, who's out injured for the next 7 weeks, which is great. When he took him off at halftime a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of games ago, he said that he was asked about it. And he said, "Yeah, I wanted to play football." Like, I just don't understand what's going on right now. We were so much better last year. You know, obviously finishing third, top of the table or close to for the first half of the year. Won a Carabao Cup, FA Cup final. Now, I mean, what are we doing? We're scraping away lucky wins. We're shocking. In Europe as well, we're terrible in the Champions League. Again, relied on a last minute sort of goal to win that. I just don't know what we're doing. I have no idea what on earth Man United are doing at the moment. Ownership wise, we're getting Sir Jim Ratcliffe in to get fucking 25%, so the Glazers still in charge. It's just like an absolute mess. And yeah, it's getting to the point where, not that I'm not interested, but like, why on earth would I get up at 2 o'clock in the morning to watch the games? Like, what is the reason for me to do that at this point?
Well, I've been saying that for 10 years.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's just, you show a lack of support for the club even when they're doing well. But for Australians that support Manchester United and support English teams in general, it's so hard to watch and get up and watch these games. But when you're seeing a club just go into disarray like it is, it's embarrassing. And I think it's all about direction and leadership from the top, because you look at Chelsea, they're in the same boat. But they've spent £1 billion on a completely new squad, got 3 new managers in that time period. And they still can't string together any wins or any form whatsoever. And I think it just shows that an unstable sort of leadership group at the top can really lead to the disarray of a football club. You know, Arsenal, you can clown them all you want, but at least they have a group of people that are all going in the same direction. The people that are running it, Mikel Arteta who's managing it, the players, they're all in the same headspace, going in the same direction. They'll back any decision that they make. I may sort of judge Mikel Arteta for sort of making some bad managerial decisions and being he was a poor manager at times, but at least they're fully supporting him, fully behind him, and going in the right direction. Man United just seems like it's a million people doing a million things, and there's no sort of cohesion or structure with the way we play either. The players are just so selfish and arrogant. They leak shit to the media as soon as we start playing badly. I just can't stand it, if I'm honest. They're on so much money, and the least you can do is show some support and show some effort and energy, and that they just
everyone's saying
can't be bothered.
Bruno needs to be stripped of the captaincy. Well, I saw Roy Keane saying that. Well, but I mean,
who are you going to give it to? Who's going to be the captain?
Just give it to, I don't know.
Who?
Give it to
Johnny Evans?
Give it to Højlund.
Give it to Johnny Evans? Give it to Højlund, the 19.
Varane can have it.
Varane doesn't even play half the time, and he's injured whenever he does get picked. So, I mean...
yeah. But
who do you give it to?
But Bruno...
He just won Player of the Month, by the way, which is fucking embarrassing.
He won Player of the Month.
McSauce.
For United or for the Premier League?
Man United.
Oh, okay.
And he's shit. People that think he's good at football now, so bad. So bad.
I don't think anyone thinks that.
People genuinely think that he's a good player. Like, people that don't watch Man United, like McTominay scores late goals, he's good. Such a bad player. So, we'll see, but I doubt that we're going to do anything this year, and I just don't want to be in the Europa League, please. Just don't get in the Europa League. That's one thing I'm just hoping and praying for, because that would just be even more embarrassing. I just want to get out of it.
What, like to get out of the group?
Yeah, I just get out. Either come fourth or come first or second. I do not. Well, we're not coming first because Bayern's in it, but come second or fourth. Do not come third. I plead with you. Do not come third. Because playing some fucking Bosnian shithole, it's just not to boost up Scott McTominay's goals or whatever. Just cannot be bummed with it right now. So, yeah, Man United's in a shithole at the moment, and we'll see this week. We've got a game at a reasonable time, actually, tonight, 11:30 at night, against Fulham, I believe. So, yeah, I'll be tuning in to watch Man United lose again, but no one else do. It's very dangerous for you.
Fulham.
For your health.
Surely they can beat Fulham. They have to be. Fulham are trash.
Mate, we barely beat Sheffield. They're literally the worst team I've ever seen in the Premier League. They have 1 point.
Sheffield do.
It's 11 games in.
Oh, really? That is bad.
I
Anyway.
don't think they have. Let me see.
I'm a Saudi League fan now, so I don't follow that anymore.
Who do you go for?
Ronaldo's team.
You don't even know the team name.
Is it Al Nassr?
Al Nassr.
Nassr? I saw a stat that...
Yeah, they've got 1 point in 10 games.
Jesus. I saw a stat that Ronaldo has the most goals scored by any player in 2023. For club and country.
Maybe. What are you doing? You're just clicking with your friggin' keys.
Yeah.
No way.
What do you mean, no way? Well, I don't think it was fake.
Well, it's some probably Ronaldo fan page that said it, mate.
Pretty incredible for the GOAT. To still be
Incredible
doing
for the
that.
goat. He's just
Pretty incredible.
playing Luxembourg for Portugal and, playing some shitty Sandman for his national for his club. So good on him.
Good on him. Any other stories in soccer, football? Or
Not really at the moment. Tonali, obviously, if you're not too clued up on it. Quite an interesting story. It's weird. When everyone sort of was talking about that Tonali transfer, when he went from Milan to Newcastle, everyone was like, how did Newcastle get it? Like, it felt like Tonali was the future of Milan. He was sort of, he would never leave Italy. He didn't want to leave Milan, but they sort of forced him out. It didn't seem like it made any sense. Turns out a couple months later that he was in a massive gambling scandal, and he essentially bet in his own team, and bet was like Oscar if he was a professional athlete, just an addictive gambler.
Why can't you bet on your own team?
And he's out for 11 months. So it's almost a bit suspicious.
Is that what Ivan Toney did?
Yeah, similar. So it's almost a bit suspicious. Milan sell their golden boy just a couple of months before a major national gambling conspiracy comes to head. Bit suspicious.
It's smart from them.
Yeah, but it's also like they didn't disclose it, so no one knew. They willingly just swindled Newcastle out of 70 million. Just a bit bizarre. So
Hey, I'd do the same thing.
you do the same thing. But yeah, he's essentially banned for 11 months, I believe. So they'll be without him for the rest of the year. So yeah, interesting. Very, very weird how that sort of nothing's been talked about from Milan. So I know no one sort of said, should we look into that? Is that legal to just knowingly, because they would have known, they would have 100% known. So yeah, interesting story, but yeah, not much else.
We can shift to Formula One. There's actually something to talk about in Formula One for once.
Danny Rick back. He wasn't back today, but well, he didn't even make
his
Q3.
His car went back to shit, but my God, it's got to be the greatest performance of the season so far. It has to be.
For sure it is.
I mean, to qualify, he firstly qualified fourth, which is...
I actually think Piastri had the best performance this year.
No, brother. to out-qualify Sergio Perez, I mean, that is a big statement in a car that is literally half the speed. And then to finish seventh in the race, the rumours are... Well, not the rumours, but the calls are now coming that he's going to get the Red Bull seat.
Never going to happen.
Never going to happen. I mean, Sergio Perez has been awful.
I mean, I would fully support the move, but it would never, ever happen. Never.
I think it's very possible.
You think it's possible?
If
so
he
they
just,
go
if he
U-turn.
just,
So he's just signed with AlphaTauri for next year. They're like, actually, you know what? We'll promote you to Red Bull. Ashley Perez, you're fired.
yeah.
No way.
If he finishes the season well, I mean, Red Bull sacked off Gasly halfway through his contract. They sacked off Albon halfway through his contract. They
But
just
I don't think they go with Danny Rick.
they just
though.
got rid of the other AlphaTauri
And Danny,
driver.
look, to be fair, I love Danny Rick, but he's had one good race. One.
Yeah, that's all you need to see.
No, you need, but and the rest he's not been very good at all. In fact, he's been probably dead last.
No,
for
but
most of them.
it's just safe, right? Because Yuki Tsunoda is quick at times, but he's very stupid. He makes a lot of mistakes. He crashes the car a lot. So you can't put him in a Red Bull. Liam Lawson, he's got to wait his turn, all right? He's got to grow up a bit. Danny Rick is the only option. There's like...
Or they could just poach Lando or something.
No, Lando would never do that.
I think he absolutely would.
Mate, the amount of shit McLaren's done for Lando, he better fucking stay with them. Like,
If they give him the promise of delivering a world champion car, he will 100% leave.
but then McLaren would have to agree to that. Like, which they never would they? So
How long is he contracted for?
I think it's a while. But like they would easily get rid of Perez. I don't think they want to necessarily, but I think if Perez continues to be this abysmal, which is, it's honestly hard to do in a Red Bull to be this bad, but he's basically battling for P2 in the championship, and I think they're putting a big target on him that he has to get this P2 in the championship or he's fucked. And Lewis would be in second right now. He got disqualified 2 races ago. He only finished third. I can't remember what he got disqualified for, but if he didn't get disqualified that race, I'm pretty sure he would be second right now. So,
Well, it's almost weird. How you don't think Perez would be second, but he had such a great start to the year. I mean, he almost got more wins than Verstappen. Like in the car. What did he?
he did win one of the first races, but I think he's on 220 points and Verstappen's on 500.
Yeah.
So
It's not really a competition, but look, he's been sort of poor the second half of the year, and I guess we'll see if he can sort of seal that seat for next year. I'd imagine he will. I think it's just going to be one of those cases for Red Bull. Look, it is kind of broke, but if it's not broke, don't fix it. They've won the Constructors by 1,000,000 miles. They'll win. They've already won, like I said. Verstappen's already won whatever the individual one is by 1,000,000 miles. So it's like, are we being a bit too pedantic? Are we messing with something that doesn't need messing with?
yeah,
Because look, Perez being P2 is not the end of the world. Like, him barely holding on to the second place is not like fucking criminal. It's not like he's 7th.
no, but you just,
It's not like Lance Stroll
you just,
situation.
You always just want to be the best and take the best of what's on offer. Like Bottas finished second
But
every
that's
year.
the thing. Is Danny Rick the best on offer? No.
I think he's better than Perez.
But it's marginal, even if he is.
Well, the last time we saw that Max and Daniel both in the same car, it was very even. So
But that was 5 years ago.
yeah, there's
Max
reason.
Verstappen
There's
was
reason.
20 years old and Danny
There's
Rick
reason
was
to
in his
to
prime.
believe Danny Rick's improved since then.
How?
Did you watch the last race?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's how.
But yeah, Danny Rick. I'm pulling for the guy, but I don't think he gets better than, I don't think he does any better than Checo. I mean, maybe recently, but over the course of the season, in terms of general points, I don't think he gets better than Checo. But yeah, look,
Who cares? It would just be
up
like
Danny Rick. I knew that's exactly what you were thinking as soon as Danny Rick qualified fourth. You're like, oh my god, finally!
well,
all
it
my
is.
words have
It is
finally come true.
a massive achievement. I mean, has an AlphaTauri ever qualified that high? I don't know. On raw pace, maybe once or twice, but definitely does not happen often, especially to outqualify Red Bull. I mean, that is straight up embarrassing for Perez, even though it was actually a better qualifying for Perez. I think he was only a couple of tenths behind Max. Usually he's almost a second behind him. So, yeah, it's just thrown a bit of a spanner into the works, I guess, for next year.
Yeah.
Cat amongst the pigeons.
cat amongst the pigeons. Where'd you get that from?
I don't know. Sayings.com.
Okay, cool. Sayings.com.
Yeah.
All right, I might give it a cheeky gaze. Anything else you'd like to sort of have a chat about today?
Stuff. I mean, Francis versus Tyson.
Wow.
Obviously, you sat here and said there was absolutely no way Francis is going to do anything.
And I was right. He did not win.
No.
So,
but even though
job done.
everybody thinks he did win. It was
Ariel Hawani is the most fucking ridiculously biased person.
Yeah, he
the
is.
most cringe lord of a person.
Everybody
you've ever
hates
seen.
it. Ariel's a fuckwit. Do you see his interview with Chael?
Oh, it's so like, bro, like when are people gonna start to realize that like people have like fists and like these fighters are actually like fucking deadly people and you can't fucking piss them off too much because they can literally kill you. Like when he needs to start adapting that mentality a bit because he's getting a bit too big for his boots, in my opinion.
Oh, way too big, bro. And Chael basically said without saying, you have a grudge against the UFC and Dana White because they hate you, basically.
Which is true.
Which is true. And then Ariel was like, well, you tried to work around it. You didn't have the balls to actually say it. So next time, say it to my face, big man, and show some balls. And it's like, bro, he literally said it.
He literally walked into a death octagon to fight like John Jones. He has bigger balls than you, bro.
Yeah, and it's like everybody that knows the situation between you and the UFC understood what Chael was saying. He didn't have to say explicitly, you hate Dana White, and that's why you were supporting Francis. But yeah, it was just, it was interesting to watch. I mean, the fight itself, Francis obviously knocked down Tyson Fury, which is a win there. I mean,
yeah,
that's winning the fight essentially. Now, I did have a bit of money on Francis, as I said, for the glory. I had $20 on.
How much would you have won?
It was $750. So $750 times 20.
You would have $750 times 20.
No, $7.50.
Oh, fuck! I was like, holy shit! You could have been rich, bro.
So it would have, what's that? 150? Yeah, 150. So yeah, and when they were reading the decision, I was like, oh, we could be in with a chance here. But the fucking sport is corrupt as fuck, so you're never in with a chance in those sorts of situations.
I thought Tyson won, though. Like,
How?
he was nowhere near his best, but both were poor. But, in terms of points, if you're talking about boxing points, he won.
I mean, he didn't land...
He won more rounds. That's how you win boxing.
He didn't land basically any clean shots, and they're all fucking pillow
Francis
punches.
landed one.
10-8, though, so he wins. But... I mean, it was fucking terrible performance from Tyson Fury. I mean, if that's where he's at this point in his career, Usyk is going to kill him.
I think it's more rust than anything. He hasn't fought in a while.
Well, let's hope so. But he did look extra fat. I mean, I know he normally looks fat, but it looked like he hadn't been training very much for this fight.
Well, yeah, we'll see what happens with Usyk. It would be really upsetting and damaging to his legacy if he did lose to Usyk. Because I honestly do believe, and I think it'd be negative in terms of it, because I honestly believe that if he would have fought him two or so years ago, he would have wiped the floor with him. But now that he's sort of retired, like you said, he's gotten a bit too big. It's similar to that Andy Ruiz situation. Everyone loved it when he was a big chubby guy, knocking out Anthony Joshua, but then you fucking saw him the second time, you're like, holy shit, is this guy fat?
That is crazy. You actually get to the top of a sport and become morbidly obese.
It's like, bro, we liked you because you were a bit chubby, but like you can't like go overboard with it. Like you've got to stay in some kind of shape to be able to fight a world-class athlete. So, look, Francis is very talented in terms of his punching ability, which you saw with the knockout, but not the knockout, the knockdown, but. Disappointing for Tyson. I still, obviously, as a fellow Manc, I'd give him the edge against Usyk just because he did show a bit of rust when he came back all those years ago from the depression and stuff like that after fighting Klitschko. So he did show a bit of rust coming back from then, and then he sort of built it up, and then he fought Deontay Wilder and wiped the floor with him. So we'll see, but I still think he'd beat Usyk.
Yeah, I'd probably pick Usyk, to be honest. But Francis, I mean, the PFL, I feel like they.
I don't even know what that is.
Like, he's signed a contract with PFL, which is going to be interesting because there's no way he's going to fight the PFL now. He's going to want to keep doing boxing.
Yeah, well, because he'll get the Anthony Joshua fight.
Like it's looking like Eddie Hearn wants the Anthony Joshua Francis Ngannou fight. I think Anthony Joshua would knock him out, to be honest.
Yeah, well, the thing about Eddie Hearn is he's right about everything apart from Anthony Joshua. He bigs him up so obviously.
Well, he was right for the first
he
three quarters of his career.
Well, no, he represents him, so he obviously wants to promote.
He's a promoter.
He promotes Anthony Joshua, but every time he speaks about anything else, he's always so funny, charismatic, very on top of it. But as soon as he starts speaking about Anthony Joshua, it's just like, bro, come on. It's like, are you paid to suck him off? Essentially, is what the vibe that you get. It's just way too into him. It's like he's been pretty shitty in terms of his standards for a number of years right now. And you're acting like he's the best heavyweight in the world when he's lost multiple times for major heavyweight fights. So,
but he has, like, Anthony Joshua should be the best heavyweight in the world. He just basically developed a mental illness in fighting after the Ruiz fight, where he's basically scared to do anything at this point. So he barely throws punches anymore. But, like, his fucking natural talent and power, he should be the best heavyweight in the world.
Yeah. When you saw him early on, you were like, fuck me, is that guy good?
Yeah. And, like, if you compare him to Wilder, he's got comparable power to Wilder, but he actually has decent-looking boxing technique. Wilder literally looks like he doesn't know what he's doing out there, but he just knocks people out.
Yeah, he's like he's street fighting every time he puts on a boxing gloves, but he always manages to knock the person out, so it doesn't really matter.
And that's kind of Francis as well, who's like, his boxing wasn't even good on a UFC level. I mean, Cyril Gane outboxed him for 5 rounds. So, but yeah, fair play to Francis. I mean, everybody was saying, you fumbled the bag here, mate. You've signed with the fucking PFL, but
right decision.
Yeah, I think he's got 10 mil guaranteed, and then whatever the pay-per-view. I think the pay-per-views did bomb a bit because everyone thought it was going to be a shit fight. So
but the next fight he does, if it's AJ, it'll be a big one because obviously people will think he'll do a bit of damage. But yeah, it was sort of interesting to see that fight. Obviously, the Fury's not doing too well at the moment. Obviously, we did previously mention Tommy Fury and KSI fight. Yeah, so the Fury's not looking too sharp at the moment, but
I think it's down to John to redeem the name, and he's going to have to fight Mike Tyson. I would love to see that.
Big John Fury.
I would love to see John Fury get knocked out.
Why? He's such
because he's annoying.
Guy. I love John Fury.
He's like Ariel. He just talks so much.
I love his memes are just top tier.
His memes, yeah, but I hate how...
I know what I say!
I hate how he makes the show about him when he's not fighting someone.
Well, I think it's one of those things where he was like a journeyman boxer. Never really got the hype that he wanted, and then his sons turned out to get so much hype, so I think he's sort of just feeling that hype. And look, I love John Fury, so I'm not on that sort of bandwagon. I'm on the bandwagon that wants to see more of him, but yeah, I can understand that viewpoint. Yeah.
Okay. Did you watch the rugby final?
No, I could not stand watching the Springbok any longer than I had to.
Yeah, basically, the game basically, South Africa obviously won, but the game basically showed to everyone all the flaws with rugby union.
Well, everyone said it was a thrilling. It
was thrilling if you're a South African or a Kiwi, but if you're a neutral, it was fucking shit. But yeah, South Africa basically they won the entire World Cup with scoring 1 try in all the finals games.
I mean, that's South Africa, though. They kick their way to fucking victory every fucking time.
They're the greatest forcings back team you've ever seen in your life.
It's the most boring shit ever. They did it the last World Cup when they won it. Kicked England to death. All they do is fucking kick the ball. It's what's wrong with rugby union. And that's not saying because I fucking hate the Springbok, because I do. But it's just, that's the problem with rugby. It's too kick heavy. You watch rugby league, it's so much more fluid. There's more sort of creativity. In rugby union, everyone's just trying to play for a penalty so they can fucking hit a 50-yard shot. It's like watching the NFL. It's like watching a field goal fucking central. It's just ridiculous how every sort of bit of highlight from the Springboks is literally kicking the ball.
Yeah, it's literally a penalty goal. And there's just like,
And look, we're gonna sound like arrogant, rugby union haters, but that's from a neutral standpoint, from people that aren't completely interested and invested in rugby union. It's fucking boring as hell.
Yeah. Well, if you're South African, they play rugby union. We play God's game.
Have you seen that TikTok guy?
Not the peasants' game, rugby league that they play in Australia.
Have you seen that TikTok guy?
Yeah, I love him. I do love the South African accent. Have you seen Faf de Klerk? Have you seen his hair?
The pin location on every single one of his TikToks is St. Ives.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, there's a bit of an inside joke. St. Ives is the hub of fucking South Africans. In Sydney.
Yeah, I lived there for about 15 years. So,
did you meet many South Africans in your time in
Yeah.
St. Ives? They're all there.
a lot of South Africans, a lot of Jews.
South African Jews are apparently a big thing.
Yeah, they do exist. Yeah.
I was a bit off topic here. Obviously, a bit insensitive with the whole Palestine Israel thing. But
Well, no, I'm Jewish, so we can say whatever.
Yeah. But you say
Freely. With no consequences.
But I didn't know it was a thing. Like, I went to Bondi, and there's a bunch of South African people with yarmulkes on, like wearing a South African rugby union jersey, and wearing a yarmulke. And I'm like, what? And I asked the person, like, is that a South African Jewish person? He's like, yeah, there's a whole community of South African Jews down there.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
well, rugby union is God's game, and the South Africans, they love that.
But I don't know how that happens. I don't know how there's like a hub of South African Jews. I don't get how that religion and country mix. You know?
I don't know.
Did they emigrate to South? I don't know how they emigrated to South. I don't know how.
They probably came from Europe.
Yeah, but it's not like South Africa's close to Europe.
No,
they'd go to Egypt or something.
I think there is a lot of.
If they're going to go to Africa.
I think a lot of Europeans did go, because like Dricus du Plessis, that was the whole thing with him. His background, I think, is from the Netherlands or something, but he's obviously lived in South Africa his whole life, and his family's been there for ages. So I assume there's a lot of Europeans that must have travelled down there. But and also like the other terrible thing about the game is the New Zealand captain got red carded in the first.
Oh, what a
20
joke
minutes
that is!
For like in the NRL, it's barely a penalty, let alone a fucking sin bin. And the guy's been red carded. We go like, what? Fuck, that's not a fucking penalty, ref, you fucking joker. Yeah, it's just to the point where it's like, is this even a contact sport anymore? I don't understand.
What is he meant to do? Rugby union penalty, red cards, and the way that it's like fucking 50-50, where like they decide halfway through the sin bin if to send him.
What the fuck is that?
What the hell's going on?
It's like, fucked.
What are you doing?
And it's like, it's a World Cup final and the game is over right there and then. Or, like, it's so easy.
That's the number one rule of refs in a final. Don't get involved. Let them play.
Yeah.
Not send him off for doing barely even a penalty in our eyes anyways. It's ridiculous. I mean, we've all played rugby union. Way more damage fucking hits you when when you get tackled, you get stomped on in your fucking ribs, in your hand. That shit hurts more than fucking a little bit high contact. It's just ridiculous. You can't guard against that kind of stuff, and it just kills the game. Like I didn't get that either.
Yeah, there has to be some sort of, like, high tackles are gonna happen. You're playing rugby. I mean, it's a part of the game, and a lot of people are saying, look, if this keeps happening, if the refs keep having this type of effect on the game, it's gonna be dead in a few years. Even though
it is dead.
Well, it's dead in Australia, but everywhere else it's flourishing, obviously. But yeah, it's something they've got to look at, obviously, and I think they are trying to look at rugby league now, or a lot of people are saying they should, even though all we do is criticize the refs as well pretty much all year, but at least the game is still entertaining. And there's obviously going to be errors made. That happens in every sport. But I mean, the fact that the TMO, I think they call it, he literally can do whatever he wants, essentially, from a tackle that happened 10 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago.
It's stupid.
And literally make whatever decision he wants, and the ref just goes, yeah, whatever, mate. So it was a very thrilling game in terms of it was a 1-point game, and there was a lot on the line, obviously, but in terms of the actual quality and entertainment, it was very disappointing, I'd say.
Well, yeah. Look, I reckon that wraps up our podcast for today. Want to get onto the hour mark,
so we don't talk about England?
England? What about... Oh, no, the Cricket World Cup. England is shit. Well, I've already said it many times. Who decided to put it in India?
Well, everyone else seems to be going all
like
right.
Maxwell. I actually want to talk about that for 1 second. The guy is the king of getting injuries, non-sport related.
Did he get injured?
Yeah.
What?
I don't know what he did, but I think he was golfing and he like
What,
jumped
just
off
like
the...
recently?
Yeah. And he's like out with a concussion because he fell off the golf. I don't know.
What the fuck? Really?
Yeah. And like another time he broke his leg because he was on a party and he fell off a table or something. I don't... Like the guy just gets injured in like the most stupidest way.
What, so you got concussed playing
Like,
golf?
sorry, boss. Yeah, can't come into work today. Kind of went out partying and broke my leg. So he just gets injured in every fucking thing that's
that
not sport
sucks.
related. He never gets injured.
He was playing so well as well.
So yeah, I think he's out for the next game with a concussion because he fell off a golf cart or something.
Jesus.
Or he got hit in the head with a golf ball. I can't remember. But yeah, one of them's deadly, one of them's not. But yeah, anyway, thanks for listening to the podcast today. Hope you enjoyed. A bit more sport happening over the next couple of weeks. Obviously, Cricket World Cup sort of wrapping up. Thank the Lord. And yeah, is there anything you want to lead us off with?
Congrats to the Chin.
Oh, Cleary. Kind of weird because she's like 19, but...
She's 20.
He's like 26, but it's a bit weird, mate.
Well, when you've got a man looking like that beckoning you...
With that chin just protruding.
He was looking jacked in the photos. Except for his rank
Is that
tattoo.
what you were looking at? Oh, fuck. Cleary looks so jacked right now. Is that what you were like? You were
Well,
like,
yeah, I was. I was surprised. Except for his rank tat, but...
Yeah, it was a bit weird. But yeah, shout out Nathan Cleary.
The hottest couple in the country right now.
It's the most talked about couple in the country. It's the Beckham and... It's the Victoria and David of,
Yeah.
Of Australia, which is saying a lot about Australia. But yeah, props to her. And she scored a goal recently in that Olympic qualifier, so shout out to her. And
It was a really good goal. And the camera went straight to Nathan after she scored.
oh, it's so cute. Oh my God, it's like Taylor Swift. And
There's
Travis
no
Kelce.
way they can last though. She's in England the whole time.
Cleary can move to the Leeds Rhinos or whatever they...
Fuck, imagine if he did that. Oh my God.
That'd be funny. But yeah, anyway, thanks for listening and give us a like, subscribe, and catch us next week. Adios.
Peace out.